Welcome back to the ChessGoals YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to go over how to attack, and this video is titled The 5 Steps to Attack. First, we're going to go over VIP member Bob's game, showing a beautiful example of how he executes a kingside attack. And then I'm going to have a test for you guys where I'm going to go through different parts of the game, have you pause the video, and try to find the correct answer. So if you want to skip ahead to the test, I have chapters so you can do that. All right, first let's start with Bob's game, and he is playing the black pieces. We start with an English, and Bob transposes it into a Slav defense, d5, c6. And now we see a triangle defense. This is what we recommend in our dynamic Slav course that we have at Chess Goals. And here we typically recommend d takes c4, the note boom variation, but Bob goes with bishop to b4. And we'll fast forward a little bit. We'll see how Bob develops all of his pieces. Gets his rook in the center, brings this bishop back. You can note that this bishop is pointing at h2. So we're thinking about an attack here. How do we build the attack? c5 by white. This is a very committal move because this tension actually favors white. The c4 and d5 tension, the pawn on c4 has an extra option to push forward. The black pawn cannot push forward because of the pawn on d4. So this tension favored white, and white releases the tension. But what this does is it locks up the center, which gives black a good anchor point to launch this kingside attack. So already we're starting to see that black might be building a kingside attack here. e4 by white, e5. Few trades happen in the center. And now after knight takes e5, this is step one of building an attack. Black is creating active pieces that point at the opposing king. So look at the knight on e5, eyes f3, which is near the white king. We see both bishops pointing the direction of the white king. We have the f6 knight ready to jump. That's also close to this white king. And we have the e8 rook ready to potentially lift up and come over to the king side. And of course, the queen is always ready to come out through the diagonal. So in terms of attackers, we have all of these pieces, 6 different pieces that are potentially ready to attack the white king. So that's step one, active pieces that point towards the opposing king. White plays knight takes e5, and now we see rook takes e5 by Bob. This is a nice move because if you take with the bishop, it doesn't quite bring in this extra attacker, but with rook takes e5, the rook is ready to swing over to the king side. This is bringing this rook into a full attack position, and white just lost one of their only defenders of the white king, the knight on f3. So white challenges rook f to e1, and now we see step two of creating an attack. It's provoking weaknesses near the opponent's king. With this move, rook to h5, Bob is not trading off the set of rooks. He's keeping this extra attacker, and he's double attacking the pawn on h2. This is provoking a weakness. This is something that Capablanca did a really good job of. If you look at some of his old games against chess masters, he did a very nice job always provoking weaknesses in front of the opponent's king. Get them to push a pawn up, create that weakness, and then later on you can go in for the attack based on where they create the weaknesses. So rook h5, step two, provoking a weakness near the opponent's king. Now we see g3 by white, and all of a sudden these light squares are opened up. This is making it easier for black to formulate an attack. And Bob plays knight to g4. This is what I'm calling step number 3, bringing more attackers in than there are defenders. So in this position, we have the rook that's an attacker. This bishop is sort of blocked right now by the g pawn. So we need to figure out how do we get more attackers around the white king. The white king itself is already a defender, defends h2, which the rook is attacking, and it defends other squares around the king, right? So the current count is sort of 1-to-1. We need to figure out how do we bring another attacker in, have more attackers than defenders. That's what this move does, knight to g4. Now we see a double attack on the h pawn, only defended by the king, and there's no way for white to bring an easy defender over there to guard h2. So white plays rook a to d1. Now at this point you might be thinking, could black go ahead and capture on h2? The answer is yes. You could play knight takes h2 here. That's a good move. Bob played an equally good move, knight takes f2. And I think this one actually is a better move in the sense of practical chances in creating an attack. So this is step number 4, and we're calling step 4 exposing the opponent's king. So this f2 pawn was one of the defenders of the king. Bob is sacrificing the knight, and that's immediately exposing the king. So after king takes f2, Bob wins the h2 pawn, and white just went from having 3 pawns around the king to 1 pawn around the king. That's step 4, exposing the opponent's king. King to g1. Now we see bishop takes g3, attacking the rook on e1. Here there is one good move for white, but it's not easy to find. If you want to pause the video and try to find it, go ahead. There's one move that saves white, and it's bishop to g5. White didn't find that in the game, which is completely understandable. Knight takes d5 was played. And now this is step 5, finishing tactics. Can you find the finishing tactics in the position? Go ahead and pause the video if you want to try to find this. There is a forced checkmate in 8. You don't have to find all 8 moves, but see if you can find the first move of the sequence and start going down that path. So the move that Bob played, and it is the mate in 8 line, is bishop to f2 check, and the opponent resigned. The best defense is king to f1, which is a mate in 7. King to h2 is going to be a mate in 4 after the queen comes out with check. I'll show you the mate in 7 line. King to f1. This bishop can check on h3. The king runs. Now there's bishop to g1 check. Discovered check on the king. This bishop guards f1. So the only thing the king can do is play to f3. It's the only legal move. And now we see the queen come into the attack. Queen takes d5 check. Bishop blocks. That's the best move for white. And the queen can swing over to h5 check. And look at this rook on h2, cutting off the white king from behind. The g1 bishop cuts off this square for the king. So that king has nowhere to go up in this direction. The king has to kind of stay on the g file, f file, on the left side of the board. Now king to f4 is the best move. We have queen to g4 check, king to e5, f6 check, king to d6. The king is getting way too far into our camp. Queen to d7 checkmate. So really nice game by Bob. Let's review the 5 steps just real quickly. Step 1, activate the pieces. Get active pieces that point at the opposing king. Step 2, provoke weaknesses near the opposing king. Step 3, have more attackers than there are defenders. Step 4, expose the opponent's king. Step 5, find the finishing tactics. All right, so now we're going to go into a game, and I want you guys to tell me what the best moves are. So we're going to start out with the Kali opening, and I'm going to go through this part pretty quickly. I'm giving both sides sort of symmetric play, but it's similar to the game Bob had with colors reversed. b6 by black. Now it's white to move. Try to find the best move for white. Go ahead, pause the video, think about this for a little bit. One move stands out as the best move. All right, if you found the move e4, you are correct. This is step number 1. Active pieces that point at the opposing king. So by playing e4, we're going to break the center open and allow our knight to come in and bring both bishops pointing towards the king. So black most likely will play d takes e4. We can take with the knight. Knight takes e4. Now pause the video again. Tell me the best move for white. All right, if you gave an answer, rook takes e4, that is correct. Rook takes e4 is better than bishop takes e4 because getting the rook up onto e4 allows us to swing this rook over to the king side and bring another attacker. So let's play knight to f6 for black, attacking the rook. Now pause the video again. Tell me the best move for white. There's one move again that stands out as the top choice. All right, if you said rook to h4, that is correct. This is step number 2. You're provoking weaknesses near the opponent's king. And also step number 3, more attackers than defenders. So we have the bishop and the rook pointing on h7 with the knight ready to come in next to g5, or the bishop to g5, pinning down this knight, removing a defender of h7. So this is kind of two steps combined in one, provoking weaknesses and bringing more attackers than defenders. Now let's play h6 for black. This is a mistake, but white was already in a better position. Again, find the move for white. Let me know what you think the best move is. Okay, if you found bishop takes h6, that is correct. That's step number 4. We're exposing the opponent's king. And after g takes h6, you find the move for white. There's two good options, queen to d2 or queen to c1. They both have the same idea. You're getting ready to bring in the queen. Now, if you'd like, you can pause the video again, try to find the finishing tactics. But essentially, if you found queen to c1, you're definitely on the right track. This is going to be a 12-point stockfish advantage. The queen is coming in to take h6, checkmate to follow shortly. Let's just give an example. Let's say bishop to b7, completing development for black. Queen takes h6. There's no way to stop this mate, queen to h8, or if the knight blocks, there's queen takes h7. So checkmate will follow very shortly. So to review the 5 steps again, step 1, active pieces that point at the opposing king. Step 2, provoke weaknesses near the opponent's king. Step 3, more attackers than defenders. Step 4, expose the opponent's king. And step 5, find the finishing tactics. So I hope you guys like this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will bring you more of this sort of general chess content we've been trying to add to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.